Hi there, my name is Toby, and I've discovered that the most important factor in building a more efficient body is controlling your body structure. I'm very carefully holding my body structure in a particular way, and this is the neutral stance, or rather this is the upright neutral stance. And as I lever forward, this becomes the full neutral stance. And what I'm doing is projecting my hips back, squeezing the glutes, lifting the rib cage and the shoulders up and back a bit, so I've got a slight backwards arch in the spine. This is a neutral spine with neutral hips and shoulders. And here I'm doing washing up, so I'm miming all these tasks that we might be doing, trying to hold a better structure. And if you can do this, you'll see that it's much easier to hold this way. You don't injure your back, and you can hold your body for a much longer period of time once you get the hang of this. And this is cooking, chopping. So yesterday we were working on digging and sweeping, and now we're doing other movements. This is stirring a pot, so it's cooking. And as from stirring a pot, I'm standing up nice and straight. Now here's shaking something, so this could be shaking a cocktail shaker, but you've got to lift your shoulders up and back. Hold it in that position as you shake from the structure. You see, we tend to lean forward and then we could injure ourselves. That could also be grating cheese, for example. So this is body efficiency training, and this is farmer strength part 2. And I do suggest you go back and look at yesterday's video, part 1, where we were concentrating on digging and sweeping, these larger, very powerful movements. We're going to do some different ones today. Now here, this is sweeping up. This is a dustpan and brush. Now if you go to the Far East, and in particularly India, you'll see the workers there, they sweep like this. They're not standing up with a broom, they're squatting down with a broom. And these workers in India and the Far East, if you ever see them, these guys work so hard, we cannot comprehend how hard they work. And why are they doing it like this? Well, again, you might think, well, this is very primitive, they should be standing up with a broom. But these guys work harder than we can imagine, and they choose to do it like this. Why? Well, it's more efficient. If you can squat down, it's like you're sitting down all day. But how do you maneuver around? How do you move around? Well, this is how you do it. Very carefully, what you've got to do is shift your weight from one hip to the other hip. So once your weight has gone all the way to one leg, the other leg is just a little bit free so that you can move it forward. Now, if you can't squat fully, now I'm on the ball of the foot so the heels are up, you can still do it even if you can't do a natural squat, a full squat. But it's very careful balancing. I've got to balance on one hip, then I can move the other leg very carefully. And this is efficient. Once you get the hang of it, it is easy. And these guys are doing this all day long. So they are effectively sitting down all day while they are sweeping up. And you've got to keep a good spine, because if you're going to hunch forward as you do this, you're going to do your back in. Now this is an aside. This is a small monkey walk. So I used to do a lot of monkey kung fu. And this walk is very similar. But you're shifting your weight from one hip to the other hip, but I'm also rolling onto the ball of the foot to create a movement with the ankle. So it's an efficient way of moving around very, very low down, very slow. Small steps, so I don't have to create big movements with the hips, but just balancing from one hip to the other hip. Now, if you're a worker, an electrician, a plumber, you've got to reach down, and this is a screwdriver. You've got to screw things in all different directions, awkward places. So if you do this for a job, you're doing yoga all day long. So you'll be very careful and aware of your structure. Sit down and stretch carefully into different yoga positions. Feel your whole body, and you can get a great workout just as you do your work all day in these awkward movements. See, this could be under a sink doing a pipes, or an electrician lifting up under inside a cupboard, and again hammering nails into the ground from a squat position and using the whole body structure, still trying to keep a neutral spine. And here now we're using another tool, so this could be several different tools. So the stick simulates here, first of all, is a sledgehammer, so we're dropping a sledgehammer down. Now the trick is to keep the shoulders, the rib cage up and back. So even as the hammer comes down or the tool moves away, you keep the shoulder up and back. The trouble is with a tool, you tend to hunch forward and extend forward, and then we hyperextend our shoulders and our spine, and this is where we can hurt ourselves. You see the shoulder goes up. As the tool goes down, I lift my shoulder, rib cage up, and the hammer is dropping at the end, so I'm letting it drop, but as the tool drops, I'm pulling the shoulder up to counteract that, or hold against it, and keeping a neutral spine, a backwards arch in the spine, very carefully controlling my spine as I do the movements. It's also martial arts. You can see this is also stick fighting, but we want to look at different ways of using tools. So this could be different, you could play around with this and find different ways, but what you've got to do is feel the alignment of your body and feel what is easy. I'm trying to make this tool weightless. So this could be an axe now. So I could be chopping something, or a scythe, you know, chopping, doing farming, gardening work. So I'm swinging, but as I swing at the end, I've got to pull in a little bit further. So I pull in back towards me, that creates more of an angle and a greater force right at the end of the swing. But I've got to keep the rib cage and the shoulders up and back, and a slight backwards arch in the spine, belly pulled in. You see, we've got to keep our structure even as we lean forward. So when we lean forward, we want to stretch out. We stretch out our arms, our shoulders, and hunch forward. We want to resist that. We want to lean forward by levering at the hips and bending the knees, but keeping the spine backwards. The arms will be shorter. So how do we reach further forward? We lever further forward at the hips. Now we're lifting a heavy object. So this could be any random shaped heavy object. It is about 10 kilos. Now the secret is to bring the object as close to your center of gravity as possible. So you're adding it onto your own center of gravity. Now this also applies if you're overweight. If you're a larger person, you might have a large belly, you actually have to move around a bit more like this. Your center of gravity is in front of you because your belly is in front. That means you have to lean back a bit more to balance out your center of gravity. But take heart, if you're overweight, don't worry about it. It's still very useful. You're holding some extra weight on your body. That means as you maneuver about, if you improve your alignment, you will build your strength, because you're carrying extra weight. You're essentially a weightlifter if you're overweight. And bodybuilders will bulk up, they will literally get themselves overweight, then they will train and build their strength from the inside and then lose the weight. So if you're overweight, think about strength building. You've got to build your body structure. And you see here, belly pulled in, I'm levering from the glutes, squeezing the glutes to come up, keeping the shoulders up and back. So it's very important, shoulders up and back, the spine is already pulled back. Our shoulders up, you see. So I'm levering from the glutes, trying to maintain this neutral spine with the shoulders. This is the neutral stance again, and you can see how close this is to the neutral stance. So I squat down and I pull my shoulders and rib cage up and back before I take the weight. So I'm holding my spine, I'm holding the rib cage and shoulders, locking them in correct position before I take any weight into my body. Then I rise up from the glutes and the hip lever. Okay, check out these other videos here, in particular the neutral stance. I hope this made sense, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.